suddenly it just mutated. Overwatering isn't about the amount of water, but how often you water. And you can try and reverse the reverting. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, and today we're going to be talking about the Philodendron Birkin. Philodendron Birkins are known for their dark green waxy leaves with this gorgeous white pinstripe variegation. This is one of my favorite philodendron plants that I have, and it's in one of my favorite pots, obviously, as well. It's a head pot. It actually lives on the bookshelf right there, which is great. I love having it in my little filming background, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I do. This plant is fairly new and fairly trendy as well. It was actually discovered because of a spontaneous mutation of a Philodendron rojo Congo. Suddenly it just mutated into this gorgeous variegated thing, which is awesome. So the grower decided to cut that bit off, propagate it, and cultivate the Philodendron Birkin as a whole new plant, which is pretty freaking awesome. They used to be quite rare as well. They didn't occur all that often, and so they were a highly sought after rare plant, but now they're being propagated through tissue culture, which is awesome because it makes them widely available to the masses as well as a lot cheaper, which means more people can afford to have these gorgeous plants in their life. Before I get into the care of this beauty, I just want to say, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up down below and comment on other houseplants you'd like me to talk about in the future, and subscribe for more. Also, follow me on Instagram because I post pictures of this one a lot because I love the pot so much. And I mean, the plant's great too. All right, I need to stop rambling. Let's get into it. In the spring and summer, they like to stay pretty damp. So I'd say water when the soil is dry about a third of the way down. In the autumn and winter, they like to dry out quite a lot more. I pretty much let this one dry out completely before I water it again, just because it's not growing nearly as much, so it doesn't need the water and the energy. You don't want to overwater these though either. They don't like their roots to stay super soaking wet, so it's better to err on the drier side rather than the wetter side. Though when you do water, you want to fully flush it through with water. Overwatering isn't about the amount of water, but how often you water, so bear that in mind. If you've noticed that the leaves on your plant are yellowing around the edge, that's usually a sign of overwatering, so maybe cut back a little bit. If you notice your leaves drooping and wilting a little bit, that means your plant is thirsty, so give it a drink. Ideally, Philodendron Birkins will get a bright indirect light. Of course, that is the ideal. Direct sun can actually cause damage to their leaves and cause them to drop, so avoid direct sun. But also, if your plant is in too low of light, it could cause it to become leggy or even stunt the growth. So it's a balance. This one, like I said, lives on this bookshelf here, and this is a fairly dark corner. This room just has one northeast facing window. This probably isn't the ideal spot for this one, but I do have grow lights that go on between like 4 and 10 p.m. every day, and that just boosts the light in this room, and I think that's what's allowing it to be happy. Otherwise, it would definitely be too dark in here. Philodendron Birkins will struggle in colder temperatures. Their ideal is between 16 and 30 degrees Celsius or 60 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. They do prefer to be on the warmer side, of course, and they can even suffer damage at temperatures under 10 Celsius or 50 Fahrenheit. So really do avoid those sort of cold places. And they're not that fond of hot or cold drafts, so ideally keep them away from like air vents and radiators and stuff, and they'll be okay. These ones love themselves a bit of humidity. They tolerate like medium to high, like 40% to 70%, but they'll love it more if it's higher. They're from a tropical climate originally, so we want to give it as high humidity as we can. In order to keep the humidity that high, you can put it by a humidifier or give it a pebble tray or something like that. Or If your bathroom gets enough light, that would be the perfect place for this because it'll get extra humidity through like daily showers and stuff like that. So if you've got a bright enough bathroom, perfect spot for one of these. I don't actually supplement the humidity for this one at all. It lives in this room and it's probably about 50% humidity here all the time. I've got a fairly humid house. Also, I do end up drying my clothes in this room and that lets off a decent amount of humidity, so it's fine. It probably could be in a more humid place, but I think it's all right. A rich peat-based soil is the best soil for Philodendron Birkins, but of course you want to make sure it's well draining. They're pretty slow growers, so they'll rarely need to be repotted. You only want to repot it if it's really outgrown its pot. And when you repot, you want to make sure you're using a pot with good drainage holes. I have this one in its nursery pot in the head pot. That allows water to drain out of the nursery pot into the bottom of this pot and stops the roots from just like sitting in the water. You can propagate Philodendron Birkins through stem cuttings. Preferably you want to be doing it in the spring or summer, as that's when your cuttings are probably going to have the best chance of success. And either propagate them in water or soil. Water is my preference just because I like to watch the roots, but it's really up to you what you want to do. When you take your cutting, you want to make sure you're using a clean, sterile knife or pair of scissors, and you want to be cutting just below a node or like an aerial root on the stem. It can get quite difficult because their stems are quite compact, so be super careful, but it can be done. And then you want to take that cutting and put it in your preferred medium, water or soil. If you do use water, you should be changing the water every couple days or so, just to make sure that it stays clean. And then once the roots are about 2.5 centimeters or an inch or so, you can pot that into some soil and have yourself a new little plant. I've personally never done it just because my plant's quite small and I don't feel like I need to. I feel like I only need one of these, but it's possible. So because this is a variegated plant, I wanted to talk a little bit about variegation. So variegation is the white stripes on this plant. It is where the plant doesn't have as much pigment. So in order to encourage a bit more variegation, you can put it in slightly brighter light. Obviously, like I said earlier, no direct sunlight, but bright or indirect will encourage more variegation, because in those areas of your plant that are white, there's no chlorophyll, which is needed to photosynthesize and grow the plant. So the brighter light you put it in, the less chlorophyll it needs to succeed. Unfortunately, the variegation in these is unstable. They could revert back to a Rojo Congo at any time. I know it's kind of scary. You don't want to buy a plant and have it immediately revert. I haven't had any issues with these, but I have seen pictures of them reverted, which is kind of cool. If your plant does revert and puts out an entirely green leaf, and not like this kind of entirely green, more like fully green. If that does happen, you can try and reverse the reverting by cutting just above the last variegated leaf. That could just like cancel out the reverting, but it's not a guaranteed foolproof method, so just be careful. They're unstable. There's not any guarantee that they will continue growing like this, but don't let that stop you from buying them because they are really, really cool plants. Unfortunately, Philodendron Birkins are toxic to cats and dogs and people, so you should not be eating this plant. Keep it away from pets and children just because you don't want anyone getting sick. It's just better to keep it out of reach. So yeah, that is it. That is all you need to know in order to take care of your Philodendron Birkin. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me and the head pot a thumbs up down below. Comment on other houseplants that you'd like me to talk about in the future, and subscribe for more. And again, to see pictures of this beauty, head over to my Instagram where I post all the freaking time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! I'm weird. It's like I've got two heads, which is great. Two heads are better than one, right?